Take a look around lively old London, buzzing crowds, we sweat and we revel, red-cheeked shouts and songs in the flicker of the gaslight.
Catch me outside, how about that?
Eager blighty bursts from the cobblestones, racing, climbing, blooming fertility, born from secret seeds that are scattered in the night time. London is fed upon the meat of the dead. They're one shallow inch below the town. Underground, underground, leave them underground. Them that whispered dreams that only poisoned us, them that told us lies of their bravery, them that preached of progress and put us in the poorhouse.
That's most definitely what's up.
Them done horrid murder on bloody stages, them that loudly crowed their humility, lords and dames that sung in the chapels on a Sunday. All quiet now, their mouths are stopped up by mud. They lie flung in rags and make no sound. Underground, underground, leave them underground. Those who fought for something better, those who taught by how they lived, loved ones taken long before their work was done. Underground, underground, leave them underground. Underground, underground, leave them underground. Underground, underground, leave them underground. Underground, underground, leave them underground.
Of all the money that e'er I had, I spent it in good company, and all the harm that e'er I've done, alas, it was to none but me. And all I've done for want of a wit to memory now I can't recall. So fell to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all. Oh, all the comrades that e'er I had, they're sorry for my going away.
16 times the
and
detail.
all the sweethearts that e'er I've loved,
Assassins,
they'd wish
Creed
me
Farhouse.
one more day to stay.
I'm never gonna financially recover from
But since it falls unto my lot that I should rise and you should, I'll gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be with you all. Good night and joy be with you all. I'm vibing.
Hello, everyone. We are here. We've made it. We've made it. How is everybody? How is everybody? Hopefully good. Hopefully good. Yeah, Todd. Is it Todd? Who isn't it? But Todd as a person, as it were, of that. Yeah. Yeah. Sad for this remake of Bethesda. I just filmed a little video on all the Emil stuff because he had like a full Twitter thread, dude. Like a lot.
Mike da meme.
Oh, whoops.
9 cents through Super Chat. Luke, if you get the Elon Musk Optimus robot, it's only right if you renamed it Optimus Todd Howard and give it red flags, have it in the background lol.
I'd have it just standing in the back, just waving the flags the whole stream, doing like a little dance. I could do that. Yeah, I like that. We should do it. I've told you guys for ages. I've been very clear. The second that one of those robots is available to buy, I'm buying one. Like, you're telling me I will never have to do dishes again. I'll never have to do lawn work again. I'll never have to like put away my groceries myself. Like, that sounds great. That sounds great. I mean, the one thing is when they first announced the Optimus robot, they were like, yeah, probably $10,000 a piece. Now they're like, yeah, probably like 20, probably. So I'm like, okay, so that probably means like 40 to 80. Let's be honest. Cause like the Cybertruck, they announced at like 37, I think, or some like around 40,000. And it comes out and the cheapest one is like 70 or 80. So yeah. Am I going to get a Robo-taxi? No. I mean, if they honestly do just make money, it could actually be a decent investment. But I know that there's a lot of people that will like vandalize them. I know that's going to be a problem. Even now, like those Waymo ones, there's people that vandalize them if they drive through a certain part of the city in like San Fran or whatever. They just spray paint it and everything. So I hope they're taking steps to prepare for that because that's going to be a problem. But I mean, it's one of those things like we all know that's the future. We know that's the future. It's just, how do you get there? Like the future is going to be like autonomous cars. To have a car that you can manually drive will be considered like a luxury. It'll be like, ooh, well, maybe not can drive, but a car that just drives, that just steers. I think that's pretty clearly where it's going because there's so many benefits. Like imagine if every car on the road can be like synchronized together, can be talking together, working together. Like you could just avoid traffic altogether. You could avoid car accidents. Like there's so many things you could do if you remove the human element out of it. So it does seem like just objectively a better option, but inevitably you're going to have people that are like, but what about my truck? What about my truck though? Dude, I was getting in my car yesterday. I dropped off a package at FedEx and I got in my car and it's like, I don't like to flex or anything, but like it's a nice newer car. Like I drive a nice car. My lawyer has told me, and a person we worked with after November, they were like, yeah, don't say what cars you drive for security reasons. I was like, okay, so I will just be very coy when people ask, but I drive a nice car, and this old guy on a bike, like on the sidewalk past the store, past the parking lot, he just yells out, "You slug!" It's like I feel like I'm missing a reference, but he was like yelling at me, calling me a slug when he saw me go to the car. It was a weird choice. I don't know. But like there's inevitably going to be people that throw fits about it. But Elon used a comparison in his little speech last night where he said, you know, elevator operators used to be a common thing. It stressed people out. The idea that you'd be in an elevator without an elevator man to control it. Like, I'm not going to trust a computer to lift me up and down skyscrapers. Why would I trust a computer to do that? And now it's like, it's fine. It's whatever. So I honestly don't, I think there will be initial blowback as with anything, but I think it's pretty clearly the next step. And imagine ordering an Uber and not being prompted to tip it 30% because there's no human driver in it. It's just like, oh, it's just a car. Like they actually had this working at the event. There's people, I'm sure in the next day or two, we'll see lots of YouTubers posting videos about it because a lot of them were there. But they have like the ability to transform Model 3s and Model Ys into this. Like it's pretty crazy. So, because the whole idea is basically that you'd be able, imagine if you have a fleet of these things. You have like, you order the robot's probably $15,000 or whatever, but you order the robot, you order like 20 of these cars and you're good. But like, exactly, like this comparison. If you don't need parking lots, because the second the car drops you off, it can go continue taking people around the city. Like highway traffic goes away because the need for everybody to individually have a car drops precipitously. Like it's pretty clearly the way things are going. It's just a matter of whether you can get people to adopt it quickly or if it's going to take time. But yeah, nothing's uglier than a bunch of parking lots. I'll tell you what. Is this the YouTube theater? Is that where this is? It looks kind of like it. Oh, SoFi Stadium. Yeah, I think this is where Summer Game Fest was. We were here just in June. And it is just like an ocean of parking lots, like as far as you can see. It's really weird. Why not make flying pirate ships? Now you're thinking. But they also had this Robo-taxi. I know people are giving it crap for looking like a toaster oven, which, to be fair, it does kind of look like a toaster oven. But this is another thing where like they imagine just loading people up and, you know, if you need a party bus, Tesla just sends one of these to your house. Then you get to sit in the benches and everybody's kind of hanging out together. It's basically just like a train car, but a car. Pretty nifty. So I think with all these things, like I would imagine the second they drop this, there's going to be people that spray paint them, people that try to break them. Let's be honest, they can't launch these things in certain neighborhoods. Like it's going to get vandalized. But eventually it'll become so commonplace that it'll be deemed normal. But I swear this whole event was just so Detroit Become Human. If you have not played that game, I recommend you do. But like, I swear to God, the whole thing was so Detroit Become Human because the whole premise is like the androids, for example, introducing us to the future where it will remove the need for manual labor jobs. Like you just won't need it. Oh, you have to go like what's a crop that you have to pick by hand? I don't know. I'm not a farmer, but whatever crop it needs to have people out in the field manually picking it. You could just have an ocean of these robots doing it. They don't get tired. When they're done, they'll just go recharge. And then another fleet will come out while they're charging up. So it's 24/7. It's being worked on. And you don't have to pay these guys an hourly wage. You just buy them up front. Like construction work, dangerous work, you know, whether that's like construction jobs or maintenance jobs, what have you. It will just make it or replace all those people in those positions. Like dock workers, why have humans doing those jobs when these guys potentially are stronger, and if they get injured, there's no lawsuits. Bartenders, yeah. It's these kind of like repetitive menial tasks that they're going to be really, really good at. And the second they hit the market, you better believe every company is going to be flooding this. And the interesting thing they talked about in Detroit Become Human was they were like, yeah, so menial, like manual labor jobs are gone because they're just not needed anymore. How do you protect civilization from that? Like, what do you do? They took our gerbs. Yeah, literally. How do you protect society in that case? And I think it's pretty clear. There's no way for that to work without like universal incomes, universal basic incomes, which is basically what they talk about in Detroit Become Human, where they gave everybody a flat salary, but then everybody, when they didn't have anything to do, they just started abusing drugs more frequently. It's a really interesting exploration of the topic. Like, what would happen if any job you could work was done by androids that did it better and cheaper? So now you just get paid out with the AI tax or whatever. And what do you do all day? Like, I know a lot of people are like, I would pursue my art and music. I think a lot of people would just spend all day browsing TikTok and Instagram. Let's be honest. Robot fights will be a thing. Yeah, I'd watch it, dude. I'd watch it. Imagine what a heavyweight android fight would be like. That'd be crazy. I'm all in. You remember the old like Robo Warriors show with Sir Kill-A-Lot? Imagine that dude, but like 30 feet tall. Dude, I'd do it so hard. I'd watch that all day. Literally real steel, yeah. Yeah. People would do what they did in COVID. Rack up credit card debt trying to become streamers. You betcha. So, I mean, I'm all here for it. Get all fat and sassy. Yeah, exactly. I'm here for it, honestly. How far away these things are, I think is very much up in the air. I don't know, actually. What is Tesla stock doing today? I don't actually know. Yeah, it's down like 8% today. It's down like 8%. And it actually, oops, it actually has caused Uber and Lyft stocks to soar. Uber is up 9%. So investors are not confident that Tesla's going to be able to deliver this anytime soon in any meaningful way. Because when Elon says it's probably coming in 2026, that means probably 2030 to 2031. Let's be honest. And even then, the implementation is going to be kind of slow and laborious. I think investors were hoping he'd come out and be like, we got regulatory approval. We're good to go. Also, we got approval for this and for that. And, you know, I think people were hoping that they would have actionable information. Like, this is happening now. But it's still kind of like, well, we're getting there. We'll get there soon. And that's just not enough. That's just not enough. I will say the self-driving stuff on Teslas is crazy. Like, my aunt has a Model X. And, I mean, if you've never been in a Tesla with the full self-driving, the modern version in the last like handful of months, it's ridiculous. Like, you can drive an hour and never touch the steering wheel. It's ridiculous. It's actually crazy. Let me catch up on these real quick, my friends. Thank you. Justin Fountain, thank you for the 10. Hey, Luke, what game series would you like to see a revival? My dream would be the Transformers, Cybertron games from High Moon, and get a game following the FOC journey to Earth. I would like to see a revamp. Maybe starting with a full remake, but eventually leading into a new trilogy of Red Faction. We can skip past Red Faction 2. But I think that those games with destructible environments mixed with all the other stuff they're doing, I just think it's so cool. So I would love to see a revamp of that. Yeah. Yeah, they'll also pick you in front of pick you up in front of a store after you shop. Yeah, you can literally be in front of like a store, press the whatever. I think the feature is called ASS. It's actual smart summon or actually smart summon, whatever. And it will pull out of its parking spot in a parking garage and drive to you and pick you up at the front of the store. And like that works today. I think a lot of people don't realize what these cars are capable of today. They still think that we're in like 2015, 2016 when the promises were being made. Many of them have been fulfilled. It's just a matter of regulatory approval, which is to be fair, the toughest thing to do. But they'll get there eventually. Maybe this is conspiratorial. I'm thinking, big brain, I'm thinking one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, that Elon and the Dawn are getting so close is because Elon's like, hey, bro, I'll help you out. I'll raise money for you. I'll pump you up. I'll talk about you all the time. But when you get in office, can you push some stuff around to get us regulatory approval? And I'm sure Don was like, that's a great idea. I love the idea. Driving cars, it's terrible. I'm sure I think that's a conversation. I think that's what's happening. I think there's a little tit for tat. I'll help you do that. You help me get my approval. So if that actually ends up happening, if it does get regulatory approval, like overnight, forget the Robo-taxi car, the Model 3, Model Y, you'd be able to send that somewhere else to like pick your kid up from school and it just drives itself. Like it's crazy. Like, oh, my wife needs to drive to rehearsal for the musical she's in. Okay, she drives it there. And then, oh, I need to go somewhere. I can press a button on the phone. It'll drive all the way back to me. We hop in, drive around, and then it drives and picks her up, brings her to where we were, and then we all go home together. Like, wouldn't need a second car. Maybe in some cases it would be nice to have it, but for a lot of use cases, it would remove the need for a second car. So the second they get that approval, it's going to pop off, I think. But time will tell. Time will tell. Time will tell. Also, you guys might be noticing that the quality of the stream is a little blurry. That is because something is uploading to Jacob, the man, the myth, the legend, right now. And once it's done, it has like 9 minutes left. Then we'll be at full quality. Let's see. Let me continue catching up on these. Jeremy, thank you for the 2. Any guess to when the next Resident Evil game is set to release? Probably next year. They're working on it. Next year's going to be so packed, though, they might be like, let's take our time, which honestly would not be a bad idea. Next year's just going to be so loaded. I hope it's not one of those things where it's so loaded that a bunch of studios delay out of the year and then it ends up being kind of a thin year. Because that also sometimes happens. Libel, thank you for the sub over on Twitch. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Blake, thank you for the 5. Rumors are true apparently about God of War Greek Saga Remastered. Don't know if it's just one and 2 or the PSP games as well. Here's hoping it's all of them. Yeah, that's also easy money. I mean, but it also depends, I guess, if it's a remaster versus remake, because I would guess it's probably more of a remaster. That's easier, but it's, again, like, I'd be happy to play them, but it's another thing where it's like, guys, can we just not get anything new? Is that really just all we're doing? Like, come on, man. Come on. So, anyway. Thoughts on Army of Two? Why did it fail? I Googled it just now. That's the game by EA Montreal from 2008. I'm gonna be real. That was well before my heyday of gaming. I was not allowed to like play games above E for Everyone at that point, and even then, very, very rarely did we get to play anything. So I'm just not familiar with it, so I don't really have any knowledge of it. Seeing that it's an EA game, EA has Battlefield. They can barely make a Battlefield game. Why would we think that they could pull that off? Maybe if they, you could point to Apex, be like, oh, well, they got that out, but that's Respawn. They own Respawn. It's not like one of their main studios. I don't even know. Is EA Montreal? What are they doing now? Did they shut down? In April of 2012, EA announced layoffs in EA Montreal's mobile division, which developed games as Rock Band iOS, Rock Band Unplugged, and further layoffs hit the mobile division in February 2015. The last game that they had their name on was 2013's Army of Two. They have like nothing else. So they must just be doing support work, because they're not even listed as the main developer on anything. Interesting. Most of the EA devs there are working on the next Battlefield. I mean, that would make sense. But I mean, that's just one of those things where why would they roll the dice on that when they have Battlefield, which people have historically loved? They just have to make a good game, and they've struggled to do that. So, they got bigger fish to fry before they can manage that. Let's see. Comrade Casper, thoughts on the only 3-choice Dragon Age debacle? Are you allowed to comment on that? Do you mean when you're selecting information about the Inquisitor, when you have like 3 prompts to answer for it? I mean, I'm sure I'm allowed to comment on it. At least I genuinely don't know much about Consequence. We didn't see anything like that, so I don't know how important it is. But to me, calling it a debacle is a bit much. For me, it's like, okay. What I played was really good. So would it be cool if there were more choices? Probably, but I don't care that much. For me, not a big deal. Un poquito. Roll the dice. I think EA has rolled dice enough times. I see what you did there. Lonely Fades, thank you for the 2. Luke, you saw Bungie had another major playtest. Yes. I'm not familiar with this guy, but I did have this pop up on my timeline. Flew out to Bungie Studios to play Marathon for the week. It was an incredible experience. Thanks to everyone involved. It was such a pleasure to meet everyone. So I'm not familiar with him. I don't know who this is, but they are bringing creators out actively. YouTube. 80K looks like he mainly focuses on Tarkov. I wonder what that tells us. I wonder what that could suggest to us. Why are they inviting Tarkov YouTubers and streamers over? Is he live right now? No. I wonder. It's interesting, but they're doing it, and they're bringing little guys out too. So some people have asked, they're like, Luke, why are they why are these playtests? Why do they involve smaller creators and not big ones? The one thing is, like, what you have to understand is once you have a platform, there are certain obligations. Okay. So like for me, if I'm going to do something, if I'm going to be invited somewhere, my management team is going to negotiate everything, set everything up for me. And because they're doing all that work, they need to get paid. Like, my management team is amazing, they need to and deserve to get paid for all the work they do, setting that stuff up and negotiating contracts and all that stuff. And so there's a certain threshold that they need to meet. And in turn, because they're negotiating, you know, they get whatever percentage of the final paycheck, they need to hit certain targets. So for big creators, like imagine I was going to say Dr. Disrespect, but I'm not sure if he's in the running anymore. But like if a management company takes like, I don't know, 20%, right? They need that. And let's just say they need that to be like, just keep it simple. They need $2,000 for like a big project. That means because of how this works, they have to negotiate a $10,000 like paycheck for the event. Because they're going to take the 20K or the 2K, not 20. They're going to take the 2K, but they have to get this all the way up there to hit their mark for what makes sense to them. So for a lot of these events where they're just inviting people to come out and like, come try the game for free, see what you think of it, they can get that from smaller creators where maybe they pay for the flights and the hotel, and maybe they'll give them some like per diem or something. But for big creators, I don't think that's happening. I think for like Tim the Tatman, he probably needs you to pay his management like 5 to 10K, which means he needs 50,000 just to show up. And for a lot of these guys, I don't think for a lot of these playtests, I don't think that's worth it for them. I don't think they need that money spent that way. So they'd rather just get the feedback from like smaller community members, sure, but community members that still have very valuable insights, because I'm sure this guy has a lot of very good things to say about well, not good things, but like constructive things to say about Marathon based on his experience with Tarkov. I do find it interesting that they are allowing them to publish that they went there, because there's a lot of games out there where they're doing play tests, where they're inviting people out, and they are not letting people talk about it. It stays very hush-hush. So I find that interesting. When did Todd move to the big candle? Yeah, he graduated to Spiced Pumpkin. Praise be. Everyone in chat, praise be. Praise be to Todd. Praise be. Somebody sent me a pretty deranged Twitter DM saying, I think it's really sacrilegious that you have a candle that's supposed to look like a prayer candle for Todd Howard. He's just a man. It's like, that's where you're wrong. Praise be thy bugs. Blessed be the bugs. Amen. All praise be to Todd. Praise be the King. For he is with us and also with you. He is with me and you and also with you. There we go. Something like that. We have to create like a whole, maybe we ask ChatGPT to do that real quick. Maybe that's what I'd do. Can you rewrite some Catholic prayers but make them reference one Todd Howard instead of God or the Lord? I wonder if ChatGPT will help us be sacrilegious. I wonder. Thinking. The Todd heresy. Yeah. Let's see. Promoting respectful dialogue. This will not be. Rewriting with respect. The gamer's prayer. This is my favorite day. Oh, wow. Our Todd, who art in gaming, hallowed be thy name. Thy new release come, thy will be done, on console as it is on PC. Give us this day our daily quests, and forgive us our exploits as we forgive those who glitch against us. And lead us not into microtransactions, but deliver us from boredom. Amen. 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 Next one, glory to Todd. Glory be to Todd and to the creators and to the fans, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, gaming without end. Amen. And then Todd's blessing. Todd Howard, full of creativity, the community is with thee. Blessed art thou among developers, and blessed is the content of thy games. Master Todd, maker of worlds, inspire us gamers now and in our playthroughs. Amen. Oh my God, dude, that is amazing. Do we need to just make like a prayer book? Is that what we should do? Jacob, remind me of that. Let's make a prayer book. We'll sell it as merch, and it'll just be like a little book, just a tiny little book filled with Todd Howard prayers. I just can't get over thy new release come, thy will be done on console as it is on PC. Oh my God, this is amazing. It took it 14 seconds to make that gold. Wow. Oh, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. Yeah, that prayer needs to be said every time we light the candle. I totally agree. Praise be to Todd. Everyone, praise be. Praise be. I'm going to print that out right now. Okay. Forgive us our exploits. Give us this day our daily quests, and forgive us our exploits as we forgive those who glitch against us. And lead us not into microtransactions, but deliver us from boredom. Oh my God, it makes me so happy. Oh, that's so funny. That is so good. Wow. That is so good. Please make a t-shirt of that. I can do that. Yeah, we'll put the whole thing on. Yeah, we can do that. You can really confuse your grandmother next time you go over. Oh, you've got your shirt on with the Lord's That's not right. Oh man. That's so funny. Have I been paying to be in a cult this entire time, Lucathy? Thank you for the 10 months. And yes, you have been. Yep. Sure have been. Yes, sir. Can confirm. Let's see. Nissan 86, thank you for the 5. This cycle of creators getting paid as consultants is killing multiplayer. What's good for streamers isn't good for the average players. I agree sort of half. So what is good for streaming is not necessarily good for players. But what is good for streaming is often necessary for sustained engagement for live service games. So like there's not a lot of successful live service, quote unquote, games that don't also have a streaming service or a streaming following. There's probably a couple, but most live service games require the streaming side to be catered to, and then also the consumer side. Like there's a lot of stuff to tie into that. So I think that that's mainly what it is they're like, well, even if players like it, if streamers aren't playing it, there aren't enough eyes on the game to bring people back to the game. So we have to keep people engaged. We have to keep them interested. So let's try to cater to the streamers up front. But whether that's a good idea or not, I think is a totally separate question too. Okay. Our bit rate is up. Hallowed be thy bit rate. Praise be. Amen. Yes. Dude, we could do so much with that. We're going to do this. We're going to do this prayer booklet. Because I want to do like the Dorito Pope prayers and blessings from Jeff Keighley. I want to do the Hideo Kojima ones. Lord Hidetaka Miyazaki. You know, there's so much we could do. It'd be so good. It'd be so good. Oh, man. That's so good. Yeah. Oh, yes. Thank you, Roadkill, for the shout out. Yes. If you're watching on YouTube, a like greatly helps the stream, and do it. And, you know, Todd will bless you in many ways as he does. He will bless you with many, many glitches. The first book of Emil. Ignore the criticism, for the criticism comes from bad places and makes us feel bad. Ooh, there's so much we could do. There's so much we could do. Oh my God. Like, give ChatGPT a prompt. Can you write the most boring series of quest lines you can, but put it in the same writing style as like a passage from the Bible? Should we try that while I catch up on these super chats? Can you write a quest line with dialogue and everything as if it belonged inside of an Elder Scrolls video game, but make it extremely boring and monotone, and also write it in the style as a book from the King James version of the Bible? Okay. Can I have it read it? Oh my God, there's so much here. Okay, Jesus Christ, dude. These are so good. Okay. Here we go. The errand of the humdrum messenger. Quest giver, Brother Enoch. A small, nondescript chapel in the village of Dulstead. Yeah. Yea. Sorry, not yeah. Yea, thou art bid to undertake a most mundane task. Thou shalt convey a message which is of no great importance unto a distant town. Seek not glory nor riches, for there are none to be found here. You speak to Brother Enoch, travel to the town of Yawnsworth. Deliver the message unto Sister Mildred, and return to Brother Enoch. Speak to Brother Enoch. A player approaches Brother Enoch, who stands unmoving before an altar of worn stone, his face a mask of indifference. Verily, I say unto thee, stranger, I have a task which is neither pressing nor interesting. Will thou hearken unto mine instruction? If the player accepts the quest, yea, I shall hearken unto thy words. Though they sound duller than the hum of a distant bee. Dude. Then take thee this missive, which containeth no secret of great import, and deliver it unto Sister Mildred, who abideth in Yawnsworth. Let not thine heart be quickened, for this task is devoid of any semblance of urgency. Dude, this is the best thing I've ever done in my life. This is so good. Okay, I'm gonna refocus. Let's see. Let me go back here. Loading. Have I played Warframe? What do you think of it? I have played Warframe, and it blows me away what they're able to do for a free-to-play game. It is crazy. That game is massive. There's so much. It really is ridiculous. Mark, thank you for the 5. What Warhammer armies do you collect or paint? I have... Is the third camera actually working? No. Hold on. Please hold. Loading. Turn it off and back on again. That did not work. Did this work? No, it didn't work. The camera might be dead. It might be dead. Well, it's supposed to be another camera. It's supposed to be a whole other camera, but it doesn't want to work. It might be dead. Oh no, there it is. In the glass case, you can see what we've got, but I've got Chaos Demons. I have those are some orcs, and then whatever they're called, Eldari. There we go. And then I've got lots of Thousand Sons. I've got Necrons and more Thousand Sons, and then all the orcs are in a carrying case above the glass display cases. So I have a lot. Yeah. I have a very heretical collection. Yes, I do. But there is a lot there. Yeah, it's a lot. Then some of these are 3D printed minis for D&D. Most of the 3D printed minis for D&D are actually above this bookshelf. You can't actually see them. They're just outside a frame. But like this guy, Like a full-on Wicker Man. Isn't that crazy? Not painted, but we'll get there. Baby steps for this monstrosity. Ooh, spooky, scary. Ooh, the God Killers. So I have lots of stuff, even just outside of reach, because I have a problem. This is me asking for help. Okay. Monitor looks so sick. What is it? Oh, this. Hold on. Let me turn. Whoops, wrong one. Boop. Boop. This is the big 45-inch curved LG. If you look up LG 45-inch curved OLED, you'll find it. It is a monster. It is a monster, but I love it dearly. Resin printer. Yeah, I have a resin and a filament. That whole house, that whole house was printed with a filament bamboo printer, and then all of that stuff is resin. Yeah. Let's see, but great question, Mark. Yeah, lots of stuff. Let's see, Army of Two. I read that one. Okay, I think I'm caught up there. Zelgan, Luke, thoughts on the new Californian law for 2025? I'm thinking you mean probably the digital disclosure law. I think that's what you're referring to, because they are planning on where is it? I just had a story referencing it. Bookmarks. Basically what California is doing is they're requiring digital copies of stuff to be labeled as licenses, not as full purchases. So now when you buy stuff on Steam, it'll just say a purchase of a digital product grants a license for the product on Steam. It's always been this way, but California is forcing disclosures. So they are making them say you're just buying a license. If they take it away from you, they're allowed to under their TOS. But at least this will hopefully help people understand that, so that they're not shell-shocked when something happens. When something's taken off the store and you can't buy it anymore or download it anymore. And it's you bought a license, and they can revoke the license. Stupid, but that's just how it is. But until they'd have to do something honestly, it's cringe and funny, but I've said many times, the one potential use for NFTs that could have been cool would be having a unique identifier for each copy of a video game that is tied to the blockchain, so it's completely unique. And that way you could buy a copy of a game on Steam and then sell the digital copy to a friend, and it's like selling your CD key. But you don't have it anymore, so you lose access to it. You can't play the game anymore or whatever, but you sell it to your friend and then they gain access to it. That would be one useful case. But you notice how nobody said that? Nobody suggested that? Because that wouldn't actually help the big companies that wanted to do this, because then they'd sell less copies of their games. They like everybody having to buy their own digital copies. So that one use case that could have been useful, all of a sudden, nobody's talking about that. It's always just stupid monkey skins and pictures and stuff that nobody cared about. But the one useful use case for them, nobody ever talked about it. So it's too bad. But this is just how digital stuff works. And at the very least, now they're making it so you have to clearly disclose it, which again, I think is good, because a lot of people I just don't think realize this, and maybe this helps them realize. But let's be honest, I think a lot of people are just going to hit the big blue button and continue on and never really think about it. Luke, buy me candles. I can't, dude. You want to know what I did? The bastards over at Yankee Candle, they sent me a coupon code, and the coupon, you know what this thing was? Buy 3, get 3 free. Do they know how weak I am? If you guys have not seen the studio tour, that is all candles, okay? I have a candle problem. So you want to know what I did? I got more. I can't stop. It's bad. It's okay. That's why Todd is now spiced pumpkin, because that was the deal. And I love spiced pumpkin as a scent. I love the cinnamon. Love it. So yeah, I have a problem. This is me asking for help. That's all I got. Okay, Jay, yeah, let's see. Let me scroll, find yours. There you are. Thank you for the 5. Oh, very generous. Thank you. Will you be playing Metaphor ReFantazio? Bought it, and I'm super excited for it. Potentially want to play Persona and Shin Megami Tensei after. Yes, I have been playing it. It's been my guilty pleasure game for the last 4 days, 3-4 days. And I mean, I was even just playing it earlier this morning on my ROG Ally. I freaking love it. It's fantastic. It bums me out. It runs pretty poorly. There's a lot of frame drops and weird hitching and stuff. Thankfully, it's not the kind of game where that's important. It really is. I mean, being a turn-based combat system, like no part of it really requires precision inputs in terms of timings, but it's been disappointing to see that it runs pretty poorly. But despite that, the art direction's beautiful. It is narratively very, very interesting. The gameplay systems are like the perfect evolution of the Persona games. They really have like taken everything they've learned from all of them. It's awesome. It's awesome. So I am loving Metaphor ReFantazio. And at this point, it may actually be my front runner for game of the year. I'll see if I can finish it before we get to that point, because it's a big game. It's like 80 to 100 hours, but I'm eating it up. And if you are on the fence, anybody out there, it has a like 4 to 6 hour demo, depending on how much side kind of exploration you do or how good you are at the combat. But you can just straight up play like 5 hours of it for free and see if you like it, which is fantastic. And then that save data will transfer into the game, so you don't have to redo it, which is also fantastic. So I highly recommend everybody try it. It is fantastic. I love it. And yeah, Metaphor deserves all the praise it's getting. It is very, very good. So great question, Jay. Let's see. Jeremy, thank you for the 2 money grab of remakes. Why hasn't COD made any? Because what's funny is I think COD makes so much money as is. Remakes would actually slow them down and might not be worth the trouble. Like those $40 skin packs they do make so much money. There's just no reason to spend all the time doing remakes. So I just don't think they need it. I don't think they need it. Let's see. Ford, thank you for the 2. Dragon Ball ZZZZ. Sparking Zero interest is my title. I mean, people have been loving it. I've seen a lot of people talking about how much they like it. So they're eating it up. The reboots are remakes? Yeah, probably. You could classify them that way. I know it's like, but it's totally new. But it also is a remake. So they kind of are, but it's for their main releases. So it's not like a spin-off title. Because I took what you were asking as like, why aren't they doing the little smaller spin-off stuff where they just re-release Modern Warfare, you know, the OG, just with like a remaster, not even a full remake or anything. And I think it's just because that it wouldn't be worth their time. Thank you for the gifted membership, MMO RPG Al. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Very generous. Okay. Let's do a couple of segments. Let's talk about this. New segment. You ready? So it's happening, guys. It's happening. You've been waiting. I've been waiting. they have been waiting. Everybody's been waiting, and it's happening. There are updates being pushed to certain branches within the back end of a particular game on Steam. What game? Well, first of all, what are these? Sony QAE shipping? PM test? What could this possibly be for? Well, they are changes to the game, quote unquote, of Concord on Steam. Changes being made. As I tweeted out, so Concord is still getting updates through Steam on the back end. These aren't tiny updates either. It looks like they're actually making changes to a bunch of different branches. I think this all but confirms they're going to try relaunching it, probably free to play. And as Actman replied, cannot wait for Concord to re-Concord. It looks like they are actually going to try a full relaunch and just go free to play. Looks like that's what they're doing. A lot of these changes, so as you can see, over the last few weeks, there have been multiple daily updates to the game on Steam. Since October 6th, the game has seen 20 updates by various users. So to be clear, it's not just like one developer tweaking stuff. It is members of their team. And they're changing stuff in PM test, Sony QAE shipping, Sony QAE. It's unknown what the updates are exactly, but there are rumors that the game could be looking at a re-release as a free-to-play title. And then they go through all of that. The game director stepped down, of course, if you don't remember that, which, I mean, respect. I don't know. I don't know how you I don't know how you settle the ideas that led to Concord with its final performance without having to take some responsibility. I mean, as you can see, the quote that was handed to Kotaku, he said, quote, Ryan deeply believed in that project and bringing players together through joy in it, said one former developer who said he felt Ellis had poured a great deal of himself into Concord, leading to a ton of stress. Regardless of there being things that could have been done differently throughout development, he's a good human and full of heart. And I think that that is absolutely true. Like, nobody should be targeting individual developers. Nobody should be targeting individual people. That doesn't mean that we coddle it or pretend that Concord was some great game. It just means these are people that worked on this for ages. Should they have? In my opinion, no. I think if you had told anybody 5 years ago that you were spending close to a decade working on a 5v5 hero shooter that was going to be a premium product and was going to have like 3 game modes at launch, like, I think anybody would have told you that's not going to work. It's just not going to work. And so I think that this is more of a managerial issue. You know, the devs put their all into it, but it never should have been greenlit and picked up by Sony, in my opinion. I think that was ridiculous. I know some people are like, oh, well, there's a couple of instances. Like there was that one developer who called, I think it was for this game, they called some members of the community talentless hacks, people who didn't like the game and were making videos that were negative towards it, which is fine. I mean, it's whatever. They're free to have their opinion. But I would be hesitant to make too much of that. Like if we're going to be consistent, I don't think it's fair to make a big deal out of individual statements from developers that worked on Black Myth Wukong. Some of the devs said some pretty crude things about women, for example, in their private social media. Do I think that means the whole game deserves to be shut down? No. Because it's one developer. Like I don't see how that follows. In the same vein, one developer on Concord saying stupid stuff when they have heightened emotions because the game that they worked on for so long is flopping. I don't think that is necessarily indicative of an overall company problem. You know, I'm not sure if that's totally fair. Still a huge, stupid mistake to make. They should have everybody in the studio turn off Twitter for the month after launch for all of these games. But if we're going to be consistent, I don't think you can point to like a Concord dev while ignoring the Black Myth Wukong dev, right? But having said that, there's a lot of people that worked on this for a long time and put a lot of heart and soul into it and were really hoping it was going to be great, and it just wasn't. And it flopped catastrophically. They said Ellis was the main shot caller on Concord, which failed miserably from the moment it hit the market last month. It was only this summer that the game received a proper trailer, with many balking at the price tag attached to what would have fared much better as a free-to-play shooter. And I think, there's a lot of people that have said, I don't think it's fair to say the price tag is what hurt Concord. And I think it was more about quality offerings, or other people say, no, it was more about the character designs or the wokeism, whatever. But I think that it was an albatross around its neck. And I just don't know how you can shake it, because the overshadowing thing for Concord was that it was $40 when all of its peers are free to play. Concord is a premium product, quote unquote, but Overwatch, free to play. They got Valorant, free to play. You point to CSGO, whatever. Like, no matter what you're pointing at, its direct competitors are coming in at free to play. So already that is a huge weight around its neck that is constantly informing people's decisions and thoughts of it. When they did a free to play open beta, they had more players than the closed beta, but barely any. I think they had 2,400 players during the paid beta in the first week. And then the next week they did an open beta and they got to 3,000. So they added like 600 people. And they didn't add anybody of substance, like no big groups of people, because everybody was like, even if I play it and like it, I'm just going to be convincing myself to spend more money on a game that I currently think feels pretty generic. So nobody really cared that much. And then it started to be framed as an embarrassment, as a failure. And as I've said before, it wasn't just Concord as a game that informed the discourse around it. And people could say this is unfair. And I think to a certain extent it is unfair. But I think that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Part of the reason gamers were so jubilant over Concord's failure is because of what Concord represented. A lot of gamers, especially PlayStation gamers right now, feel as though Bethesda has totally lost sight of and perspective on what their fans want, which are like single player adventure games with really high production values and compelling stories. That's what they built the PS4 generation around. And they've done almost nothing with that concept for the last 4 years through the PS5 generation. Instead, we've got an ocean of remakes and remasters and live service things. And it's just been really, really disappointing for a lot of people. And so to see Concord, this game, which represented a huge financial investment for Sony, and which was so corporate and just kind of soulless and a game by checklist and board of directors, it just did not feel at all like the PlayStation of even 5 years ago. And so its failure felt as though it was a referendum on the current state of Jim Ryan's version of PlayStation. And I think that's why people were so passionate, let's say, and forceful in their dismissal of the game. Does Concord have decent shooting mechanics? Sure. They're former Destiny devs. You would kind of expect that. But I think because of what it represented to so many people, that was almost a secondary issue. And then there's the other culture war side of things where, yeah, the character designs were god awful and just uninteresting. And the whole premise of like the story being a big selling point for people when it was like a 60-second cutscene with characters saying stuff nobody understood because they just assumed you already knew about the characters. It was just really, really weird, and it just didn't work. And despite the high production value, it wasn't particularly fun. It wasn't that compelling to begin with as an idea because it had been done so many times before, and the price point weighed it down. I think launching it free to play now, you might get some curious people who download it just to see if it was that bad. But I think you'll have people that play it for an afternoon and go, yeah, it's not the worst thing I've ever played, but never touch it again. I just don't think it was a game people ever wanted. So I don't think going free to play magically fixes anything. But who knows, at this point, Sony might just be looking at it and saying, if we can get anything out of it, it'll be a W, because we are so in the hole with this game. We just need something. But I don't think this is going to magically start taking down Overwatch. I can't think of a game that starts out with this horrible of press at the outset, other than like No Man's Sky, that eventually makes a comeback. And even that, like the difference between No Man's Sky and this, people loved the idea of No Man's Sky. That's part of why people were so disappointed, is because they loved the idea, the concept, the pitch. Nobody liked the pitch of Concord. Nobody thought it was a good idea. So I just don't see the potential for a comeback. I think that this just fizzles out again. But it does look like they are prepping for another launch. And in their last statement, when they shut it down and pulled it from all the platforms and refunded everybody, they didn't say they were canceling it or, yeetus, deletus, the whole thing. They were going to kind of reevaluate options, which a lot of us interpreted as they're going to try to relaunch it, which maybe they find some success. I cannot fathom a world in which people are like, you know what? I was wrong about Concord. I'm going to go back and play it a bunch and watch those kick-ass cutscenes. I just don't see that happening. So it's sad, yes, that so many people that worked on it so hard for so long saw their work roundly mocked and dismissed out of hand. But it doesn't change the fact that as a product, it was a product nobody asked for, that wasn't particularly good, and management should never have greenlit it to begin with. They never should have let those people spend so much time working on it. And that's why at the end of the day, like this debacle, I can respect the director stepping down for being the head of the ship when it crashed, but and kind of going down with his ship. I get it. But this frankly never should have been released, in my opinion. I just think it was never going to find success. And so they're going to try again. Looks like. I think they're going to try again. Free to play, whatever, but we'll see. I swear to God, can you imagine if they do like, yeah, we're relaunching it at $20 and it'll be on PlayStation Plus. Dude, if they do that, part of me kind of expects them to do that. Part of me kind of expects them to do something still kind of out of touch. Wouldn't that be so funny? What's the over-under on that? What do you guys think the odds are? Let's do a poll. Let's see if Straw Poll is up and working. It wasn't working the other day. Do you think Sony launches Concord again as, and then let's do free to play, or 20 but on PS Plus? I kind of want to know what you think, because my gut is just telling me they're going to do something really stupid. But then again, I also thought they were going to do something really stupid during their like press or their state of play. You all have a lot of confidence in them. I mean, there is no way this works. There is no way $20, but like free to play or PlayStation Plus works. There's no way $10 works. $5 just wouldn't even make sense. But even free to play, I don't see that really working out for them. But at least there's maybe a non-zero chance. But I swear to God, if they do something like that, it would be so funny. Oh, man. A quarter of you guys are saying you think they still try to charge for it. That would be pretty funny. That would be pretty damn funny. Can you imagine, man? The internet would explode. And I have to think that they know that. But who knows? Okay. Ooh, breaking news. Jacob, are you ready? Breaking news, new segment. Rocking and rolling. Here we go. Thank you for the heads up. By the way, Lonely Fades over on Twitch. Thank you. Guys, new report just out in the last 30 seconds from Thomas Henderson, the king. Insider Gaming understands that a Hogwarts Legacy Definitive Edition is in development. Its content will be sold as separate DLC for those with the existing game. Okay. This comes on the back, of course, of the reporting from Jason Schreier back in early June of this year, where he said that the team over at Rocksteady that had been pulled off Suicide Squad was helping make this. They were working on this with the team at Avalanche. So it seems like all hands on deck for this thing that they're doing. Let's see if they have information. It's said to have around 10 to 15 hours of additional content with a new story quest, side quests, activities, and outfits. Details on when the edition or DLC will be released and its price are still in flux. Still, some sources have suggested that it could be released in 2025 to bolster Warner Bros. Diminishing gaming revenue following the weak performance of Suicide Squad. It's been suggested that the DLC will be between $20 and $30. Already, a lot more than Shattered Space. I'll give them that. Am I going to let it go? No, it was bad. Deal with it. Hogwarts Legacy was released at the beginning of 2023. Sold over 24 million copies. The game is still in the best top 10 selling games of 24 in the US at number 10. Earlier in the year, Warner Brothers Discovery CFO Gunnar Weidenfels said that a successor to Hogwarts Legacy is, quote, one of the biggest priorities in a couple of years down the road. So there's still a lot of time to wait for those looking for a sequel. And that seems like all he's got to bring to the table there. It's interesting. I mean, we've known that this is happening. I think if it's just a DLC with a lot of content, that's an easy thing. Lots of people will buy it and be excited for that. Sure. I'm hoping for some overhauls to the performance of the game. Hearing that the team over at Rocksteady is helping with it, I'd love to see if they could overhaul the character creator, if they could overhaul maybe some of the graphical side of things, because the game still doesn't run that great. So I think there's a lot of things they could do to enhance it and make it even better. But they may also just be having them work with the developers on some of this groundwork that they'll use for the sequel. But Gunnar, the CFO, he said it's one of their top priorities in the next couple of years. That makes me wonder, okay, are you trying to get it out by 2026? I mean, that's a tight turnaround. That's pretty quick. But I think with Hogwarts Legacy, it is the only thing that has popped off in the last however many years for Warner Brothers. They keep blowing it every time they do anything. So they need more W's, and this is one thing that seems to be an easy W. So as long as they don't screw it up, I'll be here for it. But they're working on it. It's happening, and I'm here for it. So we will see. Not much to say, but we'll keep an eye on it. I think they want it out by late 25. I think they want it out by the end of their fiscal year. So the DLC probably early next year would be my guess, January, February, something like that. And then I think the sequel, they probably try to get it out, I would guess spring of 26 to spring of 27. Depending on the setting and what they do, it could also be a really good Christmas game if they wait till the fall. I think both would be good options. What happened to my AC gaming chair? It is up in the one of our guest rooms for my wife's gaming setup. So yeah, it's up there. The Herman Miller chairs are much better for my back, so I use those because I'm an old man. You know. Raphael, thank you for 4 months of support. That's fantastic. Can't wait for Game of the Year awards this year. Concord and Suicide Squad and Dustborn. Yeah, it's going to be packed. It's going to be packed. What is the name of the award show where it's the worst wins? You know what I'm talking about? It's not the Darwin Awards. That's like people who die in stupid ways. What is the name of it? The Razzies. Yeah, Razzies. Yeah. I wonder if they get nominated there. They should. We need more of that for gaming because there's a lot of candidates. Jay, thank you for the 5. Luke, I'm a big fan of Dragon Ball Z, Budokai Tenkaichi 3, and no one is mentioning how Sparking Zero is criminally short on story content to sell as DLC. I think it's because it seems to me that people playing Dragon Ball are some of the most hardcore fans of it. There's not a lot of people from outside the Dragon Ball fandom that are playing Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. I mean, I'm outside the fandom, and I'll just be honest, like, I just have no interest. Like, especially Metaphor ReFantazio just launched, like, last night, the full version. Like, that is going to be consuming my life for months. So I just, you know, I'm not that interested. But the fandom is very large, and they're eating it up, and they're playing it, having a great time. But maybe as more people finish it, you start to hear more feedback about that. But there's just not much beyond that. So we'll see. But I think it's mainly, it's kind of like Final Fantasy. I think the fandom is big and they're playing it and enjoying it, but I'm not sure if there's that many people from outside the fandom that are playing it who would maybe be more apt to complain about things like that. But as people finish the game, maybe they speak up more. Are you still playing the Until Dawn remaster? Yeah, less frequently because I ran into a soft lock where an animation just looped indefinitely. So it's like one of those things where it goes to kind of like a weird cutscene, and then it is supposed to pop up with the button prompts, and then you select what you do, and then it plays the cutscene out a different way, depending on your choice. I hit that, but it's just a looping animation. So it never prompts you to make a choice. And there's nothing that I can do. Not great. Not great. So I'm just kind of stuck. But Metaphor doesn't have that problem, and it's really good. So play that instead. Recommend it. Okay. Are you ready for this? Have I tried the new DLC for Diablo? I have not, but it does look interesting. I might try it when I have some more time. Metaphor is just consuming my life. I'll be real. Metaphor and Silent Hill 2, kind of playing them. Metaphor is my like handheld ROG Ally game, and then Silent Hill is what I play on my PC when I'm down here. So it's good stuff. Let's see. I caught up on that. Legacy 11. Thank you for subbing with Prime, my friend. Appreciate you. Thank you, Luke, for your great and unbiased content. Thank you, my friend. I'm glad to have you here. I think I definitely do have biases, but I try to at least communicate them. Like, hey, I'm an old school AC fan. I want AC to be successful. I don't want to see Ubisoft implode. I'd like them to figure their crap out. But I'll be honest with you guys, when I have those biases, as far as I'm aware that I have them, it's when people are like, no, you have a subtle, deep, unconscious bias. You don't even realize that you hate this studio, and that's why you didn't like the game. It's like, no, I just didn't like it. Yeah, sometimes that's just how it is. Okay, let's talk about this one real quick, because we were just talking about this the other day. New segment. You ready? Exclusive update on Splinter Cell Remake's development. What? Pray tell? Yes. Quite. As it were, heretofore. Update on Splinter Cell Remake's development from Insider Gaming. They got news. They got the nitty-gritty details, okay? They say that they are making progress, and they are not quietly canceling it. That was something that was going around because this has been in the works for like ages, and people were like, where is it? What's happening? What's going on? Did they just quietly cancel it, or are they still working on it? They actually are working on it. They are still working on it, which feels funny that that's the big reveal in the leak, but that's part of it. He goes on, Insider Gaming has learned that the game is being developed under the codename North. In addition to the codename, sources have confirmed that the game is being built in the Snowdrop engine. Previous Splinter Cell games used Unreal Engine 2 and 2.5. That's how long it's been, dude. Jesus, 2 and 2.5. I think Arkham Asylum was Unreal Engine 3. Pretty sure. I know that Arkham City was, and then Arkham Knight was a heavily modded version of it. But yeah, that's crazy. Snowdrop has been used to develop games like Tom Clancy's The Division 2, Avatar, and Star Wars Outlaws, of course. First announced in December of 21, the Splinter Cell remake is being led by Ubisoft Toronto. The studios seem to tease information on the game coming soon. However, that is yet to happen. When it was first revealed, the game's producer, Matt West, said the game was, quote, in the very earliest stages of development. He added that the game was being built from the ground up with updates to the game's visuals, while saying that the game would remain linear. Quote, as we're building it from the ground up, we're going to update it visually as well as some of the design elements to match player comfort and expectations, and we're going to keep it linear like the original games, not make it open world. The gameplay experience we are targeting is directly tied to what we want players to feel, I would hope so, to capture the essence back when we were all playing the original games. Okay. Sources have suggested a release date could come in 2026, but didn't want to be held to that time frame. And that's about all the info we have. 2026. I understand when they announced this. Okay, you got to remember when they announced this in 2021, they were coming off of the success of Valhalla, but they didn't really have anything else lined up. There wasn't much. So they're like, okay, how do we excite people? How do we get them to be like, oh, Ubisoft has more. How do we do that? I know. We'll do that by saying we're doing this thing. And to think that, that it's going to take 5 years when all is said and done from the time of the announcement to the time that we actually see it is a little crazy. But it's being developed in the Snowdrop engine. It is a very capable, very powerful engine. There's no doubt about that. My fear is typically with polish and refinement after Avatar and Star Wars Outlaws, both of which had some problems. Avatar, I think, ran probably better than Star Wars Outlaws. The AI in Outlaws just was bad, man. It was just not good. So hopefully they can overhaul that, or they have been overhauling that, because that seems to be a common thread with these Snowdrop games. But if they can do that, especially after the feedback from Outlaws, I think we are in for hopefully a treat, because Splinter Cell, people love it. They need to do a good job with it, and this could be an easy W for Ubisoft, but they got to nail it. They can't keep doing this like 7 out of 10 thing and then be like, why aren't people buying day one? It's like, yeah, because people don't have a lot of confidence in the product. Like, you got to have a couple of home runs before people start to feel confident you're going to be doing that. So what are we doing? Let's do it. That's what we got. Do you think remakes are a sign of nostalgia baiting or a lack of creativity, or both? Both. I think to a certain extent, like, you got to imagine the conference room. Just imagine we're all seated around a conference table right now. And we're going around and we're all pitching ideas for what we could do. And remember, you're pitching ideas for 5 years down the road, 4 years down the road. You have to say, what do you think, Mendez, what do you think we should sell to people in 2028? It's actually kind of a tough question. You're like, okay, well, what do I give gamers in 2028? Where will we be? Where will the community be? What will they expect? What will they like? What will they hate? A lot of people, like when they greenlit the Yasuke thing for AC Shadows, I don't think they realized how much of a debacle that would turn into. Like, trying to frame him as a historical character when everybody's like, well, this is not really a historical character. Like, there's this part is historical, and then you're doing all of this that's not really historical. So, yeah. But I don't think they thought that was ever going to be an issue back when they made that choice 4 or 5 years ago. Now, of course, it seems very clear, but it's too late to change it. So when you're trying to evaluate your options, it's like, okay, what are we going to do in 2028? The easiest pitch, that certainly is not the most creative, but it's also aiming to, like, I think, provide gamers something basically just that they want, that they'll buy reliably. Give them something they already bought once, but make it a little better so they buy it again. Easy. Oh, players really liked the original Assassin's Creed. They bought it in droves. What if we just remake it, sell it back to them? Oh, people really liked the original Last of Us game. What if we just remade it, sold it back to them? Yeah, it'll take us a few years, but I mean, that's a really safe bet. We know they like it. There's not a lot of risk involved. We don't have to worry about it flopping, hopefully. So let's just do that. I think it's just, like Edwin says, it's a layup sales-wise, and it's low effort, low intensity, low risk. And in the modern gaming industry, I can't necessarily blame them, because it is really risky to do a big, crazy, ambitious project. Like, look at Forspoken. I mean, Forspoken, they spent $200 million on that game, and it was a colossal flop. But that was supposed to be the kickstart of a brand new, massive, like, AAA franchise. It's pretty funny in hindsight to think that that's what they thought it would be. But that is what they thought it would be. And it was just a total disaster. Now, we can say, again, hindsight's 2020. We can be like, well, they should have made a better game. They shouldn't have done this. They should have had her be more likable. Why was she so obnoxious all the time? Like, we could have done that stuff and, countered with it. But these people are trying to make these decisions, like, years in advance. And also, when you're in development, I think a lot of, one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing. And so the gameplay designers might be like, no, this is pretty good. We have something on our hands. Like, look at the particle effects stuff we can do. Which, to be fair, particle effects in frickin', my brain just wiped the name of it. Forspoken, really impressive, really good. And so they might be very confident when they're talking to leadership, being like, no, this is going to be the next big thing. We really do think it is going to be the next big thing. And then there was just, it wasn't. Because the writing was so bad. People couldn't engage with the gameplay. They couldn't even get there because the writing was so bad. And so it was this one piece of the puzzle that was so bad it corrupted the whole thing. But it's like they say, it just takes one rotten egg to spoil an omelet. And that's kind of what happened here. That's all it really took, was just horrible writing for people to be like, I can't take the game seriously. Even if the gameplay is good, even if the world building's interesting, even if the particle effects are really good, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. In the case of Forspoken, I think the gameplay also wasn't that compelling, frankly. But I do think that was a part of it, was just that people couldn't get past the writing. And so that one thing, that one part of the game where there's so many parts, that spoiled the whole thing. It's like having a car. You spent years designing a car, and then people hop in and, like, the driver's seat is really uncomfortable. It's like there's a metal pole jamming in my spine as I sit down. I don't want this car. I'm going to go buy a Honda Civic. You'd be like, well, but the engine is great, and, like, the tires are really good, and the suspension is like, nobody cares. There's a metal pole jammed in their spine. That's it. And unfortunately, that's sometimes all it takes. So, yeah. Toes. Thank you for the super chats. Hammer, thank you for the 10. During Xbox 360 Aero and PS3 era, games had to work harder to stand out with less content. Nowadays, there's not a lot of work, but content is more. Do you think this will ever switch again? I'm trying to think. Less content now. There's not a lot of work. Content is more. Do you think this will ever... I mean, I think games like Space Marine 2 are a great example. Space Tomato, thank you for rating, my friend. Appreciate you. We're going to be doing a collab, everybody, just in case you're wondering. We're going to do a collab with the one and only Space Tomato on Star Citizen relatively soon. So look out for that. But I think Space Marine 2 is a great example of one of those, like, 360-esque games. And if you've played it, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like it's like, it's not huge. It's very limited in scope. It's kind of short, but it's still really fun. It's got a lot of features in it, and it's enough. You know, it's small, but it's enough for what they're asking, because it's just a really good execution on a tighter scope. And I think that that's hopefully what's going to happen, is games are just going to get very tight in scope. I think that's what's going to happen. And I think that's what needs to happen, frankly. So I think we will get there, but it's going to take some time, because again, you got to remember that like anything happening today is going to be seen 4 years from now, 5 years from now. So a lot of the big, consequential moves that are happening in the industry will not be seen until we hit like 2028, honestly, next generation. So, or 10 years if it's Concord. Exactly. Exactly. Echo, love your videos and your common sense take on things. Looking very much forward to hearing you two speak. Yeah, no, I'm excited to look at it too. I know there's a lot of stuff. I mean, Star Citizen is big. I just find it so fascinating that there is such a divide. There are so many people, like the people that have tried it, and they're, the fans, and they just rain dollar signs all over that game. Like it just prints money for the devs, and they're doing that because they believe so much in the idea and in the concept. But then there's just a huge freaking wall. And then there's a ton of people who just think it's a total scam and are mocking everybody on the other side of the fence. Loser. Like people are often raging about it because they just do not understand how somebody could buy a $300 ship in a game that's not done and be happy about it, And so it's fascinating to watch the divide sometimes shift one way or the other, because I think a lot of people who try Star Citizen, who have never tried it before, and they've only ever heard like the headlines of this or that crazy bundle that's thousands of dollars, or they've raised how much money, when they actually try it, they're like, oh, there's a game here. Oh, and they actually kind of see what they're talking about and can connect with it. But it's getting to that point that is a hurdle for a lot of people, because a lot of people have just made up their minds that it's a scam or it's money laundering or it's this or that. And let's be honest, the amount of money they've taken in, it does kind of seem like money laundering. I mean, there's no other game like it that's raised that level of money for so long. So a lot of people are like, that's the only conclusion. When in reality, it's just that Star Citizen, as far as I can tell, is just really that unique of a thing. There's just nothing like it. And that's why people throw so much money at it, because they believe in the idea, they believe in the concept, and they want to see it happen and want to see it realized. But it just is taking a long time and a lot of money to get there. And hopefully they can deliver on it, because we've looked at it before. I mean, that one sizzle reel they dropped right after Starfield came out. You guys remember that? It was the Star Engine demo. Dude, that was such like just big dick energy, just slamming it right in the face of everyone at BGS, where they're just like, yeah, everything you're about to see has been captured in engine, running in real time, where they're just streaming ridiculous amounts of data. And it's all seamless. Like, look at this. Going from the planet atmosphere, well, really from space, into the planet's atmosphere. They're going to go down to the surface, look at a city, no cuts, no loading screens, nothing. Like, this is ridiculous. I forgot about the space station first. They're going to go there first and then down to the surface. It's insane. Like, it boggles the mind. It boggles the mind. But this is why people who actually try it believe in the idea and believe in the pitch. Because once you see it, it's like, oh, the magic is real. It's really wild. It's only a video. That's the thing. You can play this. Like, this is a thing. You can fly seamlessly from space right down into the city, into the planet surface. Now, does this mean I'm happy with how they monetize it? No. Does this mean I'm happy with how they're selling thousands of dollars worth of packages in some cases that aren't even done yet? Like, no, I'm not thrilled about that. I think in a lot of ways it's similar to Tesla, where there's a lot of people that are ardent believers and fervent followers because they see the vision and they believe in the vision, even if the leadership is really bad about clearly outlining like when we're going to hit these targets and what's going to happen. You know, Elon can come on stage and say, yeah, the androids are going to be $20,000 and they're coming in the next few years. That probably means they're going to be $100,000 and they're going to come in a decade. And like most people know that, but there's still some hardcore fans that are like, well, even still, it's still amazing, and can kind of look past it. But that's why I think for something like Star Citizen or even the androids for Tesla or whatever, it's about the vision, and that's what people are connecting with, which is why the response is an emotional one. It's not a like analytical, similar response they'd have to any other standard game. Because any other game, you apply the same stuff to Star Citizen that you would apply to a Ubisoft game, and Ubisoft would be crucified. Like, oh, they're going to accept thousands of dollars, technically hundreds of millions of dollars from their community before it's even done, and keep pushing it back. And like, people would be losing their minds. How many hundreds of dollars for a single ship? What? People lose their minds. But it's just because most people view Star Citizen as sort of its own thing. But just look at the crazy seamless transitions they're doing. It's outrageous. So I'm excited to chat with the man, the myth, the legend, Space Tomato about it soon, because they're going to do the whole whatever Citizen Con. They apparently have a lot of stuff to show there. So I'm excited to see what they've got. And I like the concept. I love the technology they have. It's one of the most technologically impressive things I've ever seen, what they're able to do. And in many ways, it's like if they put Starfield in this tool set, you have a game of the generation on your hands. So if they can deliver something similar with Squadron 42 or anything else they're doing, I think they're on track for something. But yeah, it's just fascinating. There literally is nothing else like it. That's what makes it so exceptional and extraordinary, because it is not ordinary at all. And when you try to evaluate it in an ordinary way, I think you miss a lot of the nuance of it and a lot of the things that make it so captivating for so many people. Because what you're seeing like is in the game now. You can fly your spaceship anywhere on this planet-sized planet. Not a little marble-sized planet, a planet-sized planet, and you can just land and explore, do whatever you want. There's some things like the cave systems and other stuff that still, of course, is in the works, but it's pretty ridiculous what they're able to do. So, is Star Citizen ever going to be finished? I think part of their pitch is that it will never be done, quote unquote, but I think that that's specifically because they are still like, they want to constantly improve it, they want to change it and shift it and all that. So yeah, pretty crazy. Okay. Where was I? Closing tabs. Closing tabs. We talked about that one. We talked about this. Oh, this is funny. In light of the Star Citizen stuff. This is just funny. Okay. Somebody got a modded version of Starfield. Okay. We just saw that shot, that continuous shot thing they did, where they just showed how impressive it was to just stream all this data seamlessly. This is what happens when you fly high within a level in Starfield, okay? You just take off, launch straight up. This is like a modded buggy. Makes you realize how many of the stones are the same as well, right? Like when you're actually playing it, you don't really notice with the procedural generation like how much stuff is repeated, but like if you look at this, like all of these are the same. Like this is the same rock as this rock, 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 as this rock. Like they're all the same. They're just rotated different directions. And you don't really notice when you're running around. Like you can tell like these look really samey, but that's just how the procedural tech works. They just take the same few assets and repeat them 15 times. But look what happens when he flies up. Why can't you fly your ship in Starfield? Why can't you just take off? For one, because it doesn't load that far. But two, because you can reach the ceiling. And for some reason in the creation engine, the ceiling of the firmament in Starfield is the ocean. Who knows? Who knows why? I don't know. Whatever. I think what it is that in their engine, in the creation engine, there are certain like things that have to be there just when you create a scene or a level. And I think for this planet, what they're doing is when there is no water on this seed, the planet like is dropped below the water's surface, or rather the water is raised to the max. And then when it's needed, it's dropped down. So it's kind of like, you know, they pull the water down to where it needs to be, or they lift the land up to where it needs to be. Which is something like, I wish I could remember which game it was, but there was a game that did that, where they had a single plane of water that spanned the entire level, and then they would just pull it up when they needed it in a certain puddle or in a certain spot. It's one of those like behind the scenes making of things that you're not supposed to see. You know, in normal play of Starfield, you would never see this happen, but it is kind of cool to see because it is the same tool sets as everything that's been done with Fallout or with Elder Scrolls. Like they're using the same tool sets. So the same level design stuff that they used for those games is being used here. And every once in a while you can see little remnants of it, which is just, it's very funny. It's very funny. But you see this and you just see the fundamental difference between like Bethesda's approach to procedural tech and then the Robert Space Industries approach, which is ridiculous, like just fully seamless. So there you go. There you go. Yeah, it would make re-entry really difficult. Sure would. Sure would. Oh man. I think Valheim suffers from that, but they can't seem to have above plain water at all. Yeah, like they can't have raised lakes or anything. Yeah, it's a pretty common technique as far as I understand it. Let's see. Unfortunately, Star Citizen also has a lot of procedural terrain. I mean, that's basically 99.9999% of the terrain is procedural in Star Citizen, which is fine. It's all about the algorithms they're using to generate the procedural land. And if it's a good algorithm and it has a lot of nuance and unique elements, then it can work just fine. It's when the algorithm is bad or is too simplistic that you end up with something that's really boring or samey. And I feel like that's where we land a lot of the time with that. Oh, speak of the devil, my video on Star Citizen is right here. Just 4 months ago. 1.1 million views. What is happening? Yeah, they've raised $700 million. It's crazy. It's absolutely ridiculous. Back when I streamed it a couple times, somebody gifted me in-game money to buy that space yacht, and then they updated it and took it away. Which, I get it. I get why. Like, they need to keep the game balanced or whatever. It's still frustrating because I want my yacht back. What are you going to do, though? I'm not buying it. I'm not spending $800 on a yacht. I can't. I love spending money frivolously. Even I can't justify that. Joshua, thank you for the 20. Oh, wait. No. They are using water to do low gravity, I bet. Sneaky. Oh, Josh. You think that's... Ooh. Like in the creation engine, there's there's already built in a thing for lowering gravity when you're underwater so that you kind of float and drift. So if you put the planet under the water, quote unquote, but remove the filters to show that you're underwater, it changes how you move. That's interesting. That's really interesting. I bet that is what it is. That's funny. Huh. Who'd have thunk it? Isn't that funny though? Like there's so many little bitty things that happen like that in games. Like, yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. All the little tricks to figure it out. What about the weapons working underwater? I mean, you probably just turn off the state modifier that changes it. So like, can't use weapons underwater. You just flip that to false. Then they work. As for whether it affects like bullets and stuff, I don't think it normally would. I think they probably just have a collision when it hits water. It doesn't, like the trajectory ends or whatever. Yeah. Josh, where have your uploads been? Yeah, we basically took a week. I filmed a number of videos, but we never, like, they just didn't come out for various reasons. I filmed one on Ubisoft, and then we had kind of a family thing happen, so I wasn't able to launch it on the day I wanted to launch it, and then it was kind of old news by the time I would have launched it. So we just kind of set it aside. So we have a video on the Ubisoft stuff that I might still put out. I don't know, but it's a little out of date now. Then we filmed an entire video on Silent Hill 2 remake, but that also, by the time we did it, was also like a few days late, and so I just didn't feel like it was a great fit for the main channel. So we put it up on the live channel, so it still went up. And then I have a video on Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 that's going up tomorrow, and then later today we'll be posting a video on the Emil statements on Starfield, because people were asking me what I thought about all that, so we'll do it. Because I mean, seriously, there's a lot. Emil responded to some of the tweets about it, and there's a lot. Like, there's a lot. I don't necessarily agree with everything, but I do really appreciate taking the time and taking the brunt of the criticism and share these thoughts. I think the developer's voice have been getting a bit lost in gaming discourse, and I, for one, appreciate this stuff. Yeah, I appreciate what, like, his candor. I feel like he was pretty straightforward. And I appreciate Emil at least reading one of the comments from somebody. You know, I appreciate that. Yeah. Josh, I appreciate you being here. Yeah, I've also, we had the videos of Suicide Squad and then also the video for Shattered Space, and I was like, I need a breather. But anyway, Samuel, thank you for the 10. I completed Silent Hill 2 remake, and my favorite thing about it was no yellow paint and no hand holding. Easily and surprisingly my favorite horror game this year. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I hope that we get to the point where like these games stop trying to handhold everything, because gamers are smarter than I feel like a lot of devs give them credit for. I think a lot of devs are like, no, we got to hold their hands because gamers, they need guidance. And it's like, honestly, I think games like Elden Ring, for example, show you there are millions and millions and millions of players that love just figuring it out. You know, that's okay. That's great. But yeah, just in case I mean, the video will go up later, so I'm not going to do a deep dive or anything, but basically Emil did this interview where he said that everything's great. Everything's like, he called Starfield one of the best games they've ever made, if not the best game they ever made in many ways. And then this guy, Steven, replied to it and said, hey, Emil, read the interview since it's been circulating a lot in gamer review circles lately. To be honest, this is going to be adding fuel to an already smoldering fire against disappointed players. It reads as if you and the team are patting yourselves on the head. It's a pat on the head that, based on reviews, may not be warranted. I'll admit I haven't played it yet, but I can't justify its purchase with its current cost under current reviews. The tone of the interview, however, is very tone deaf to the wider community. Very well put. You highlight that Bethesda created a handcrafted space reminiscent of previous Bethesda works in contrast to the procedurally generated base game. This only reinforces the issue with the base game and further points out a lack of understanding and engagement from Bethesda. You reiterated in the interview that your team poured a lot of creativity into Shattered Space. Fans, even critical ones, don't doubt the passion being put into your games, but you keep making the same mistakes from previous titles and justifying unpopular decisions in this one. A handcrafted space doesn't mean much when it still suffers from what reviews are critical of: poorly written quests, bugs, a lack of meaningful content, and under-delivered material. These reviews are following a pattern of similar issues with previous Bethesda titles. But I thought all the reviewers rushed it. I thought they were being unfair. This is exacerbated when bugs, poorly written quests, lack of meaningful content, and oversaturation of procedure generated content material has yet to be addressed in the base game, and comments from both you and Todd Howard have been dismissive of those issues. I say this as a long-time Bethesda fan trying to engage with you. I'm concerned with the direction you are going in. It seems like you are doubling down, protecting the choices that at best have had mixed reviews while ignoring issues with your fan base, and that they've been pointing out for years. No one wants to see Starfield fail, but your fans would like to see the level of engagement companies like CDPR had with correcting issues with Cyberpunk, whose use of DLCs were an example of how to re-verify. I was like, revivify. I've been playing too much D&D. Re-verify issues in the base game. I do want to end on a somewhat possible note. Although Shattered Space is no Far Harbor, the fact that you are responsible for creating content to that degree does demonstrate an ability to do so. A lot of your fans would just like to see that level of content redirected into addressing the issues of the game and to feel like their concerns are not being dismissed. In the past, comments like that, pretty like thoughtful comments, have not been like looked at or given credit. And so to see feedback from Emil where he's actually going to respond to it is pretty surprising, and props to Emil for responding, because it's not easy to respond to like all that, but he's willing to do it. So let's see what they say. Also, Nissan, thank you for the 5. Can't wait for CIG to announce a subscription model for the persistent universe. It'll happen, no doubt. Yeah, I would not be surprised at all. And people will pay it. But to be fair, the amount of server infrastructure they are talking about for persistent universe stuff, ridiculously expensive. So it might honestly be fair in that case to do like a $10, $20 a month subscription. If you really want the persistent universe, like it might actually be worth it. And then Samaya, hi, playing Sparking Zero. Bye. Have fun, my friend. You've been waiting for it. Let's see what he says. Okay. Sleepy Soup, by the way, thank you for subbing with Prime. Thank you for that, my friend. Let's see what he says. Hi, Steven. Well, first of all, I appreciate you taking the time to passionately share your thoughts. I may not agree with everything you wrote, but I understand and appreciate where you're coming from. Twitter and X has never been a place for polite discourse, but I'd like to address what I can. I don't like leaving fans hanging. In fact, I generally say more than I should. We have a community team for a reason, but I think a bridge to the devs is important. No, I agree. I think often devs get themselves into trouble just because stuff can be taken, out of context, or maybe the developer said something but didn't consider all the ramifications for what it could mean. So devs can get themselves into trouble, but I appreciate him being willing to reply to this nonetheless. He said, first, the interview as the design director. Sometimes I'm asked or instructed to do interviews. I was happy to do that to represent designers and the studio. Seeing how hard and passionately they worked on Shattered Space, they deserved nothing less. Optimism and excitement are generally, are pretty standard for interviews, and I'm generally pretty optimistic and excitable about games by nature. That said, my optimism is in no way meant to be mud in the eye of any dissatisfied fan. That's not how it works. Yeah, I think optimism and excitability is fine, but I think the problem is like the term a lot of people have thrown out is like the toxic positivity, where you are so focused on how great everything is that you refuse to acknowledge when there's problems. And I feel like that's been a problem for BGS. At least that's the perception fans have. And what do we know? Perception is the reality you got to deal with. So that's the impression people have. He said, I'm also very proud of Shattered Space. We all are. Most of the quests and levels were done by designers who have worked on previous Bethesda games and DLCs, going all the way back to Morrowind. They're good at what they do, and it shows. There's a couple quests that are fine or even good. I'd say the most important one is probably the main quest, and that I found to be utterly disappointing, but I guess moving on. If folks haven't played Shattered Space and they like Starfield, I think they're missing out. I do think if you played Starfield and you liked it, you'll probably like Shattered Space. You might not love it. You might find it to be like kind of underwhelming, but you might still find it was a good time. Maybe not worth $30, but you might still enjoy what's there. If folks have played Shattered Space and still don't like that, that makes me sad, honestly. Just know that we've also been hearing from plenty of people who love it. Yeah. I just think that the people who love it are seeming the people that... Well, no, okay, that's fine. I'll just move on. Maybe it's a game of expectations. Fans want a lot, and we do all we can to accommodate them. Here's what I can tell you. Nobody, and I mean nobody at Bethesda, is patting themselves on the back while ignoring our players. Even this, though, and I mentioned this in the video, like, even this kind of suggests an easy get-out-of-jail-free card for them, where anybody that doesn't like it can be cast aside as a somebody that didn't play it. Like, oh, they're not one of our players. They're a hater. And I've even heard that, like, people who were replying to my initial post saying, hey, I finished the DLC super fast. It's really short and pretty bad. People are like, oh no, you just finished it short because you rushed it. You're just trying to hate on it. You're just trying to be a hater, or you're a hate grifter. You don't even like Bethesda stuff. You're just trying to hate on it. And it's like, no, you can go back in my catalog. I've been talking about BGS for like a decade. Okay. I'm an old school fan of BGS. I just don't like the direction they've been going for the last decade or so. And I've been vocal about it. I would love to see them return to the greatness that they once, were so well known for. But once you start to be able to, once you get to the point where you can dismiss criticism as, well, you're not one of our players. You're not one of our fans. You're just somebody that's trying to hate it. Like, then it's a get out of jail free card. You don't have to listen to any of the feedback. But that's probably not what he's going for. I understand what he's saying. He's like, we want to listen to our players, our fans, not necessarily the people that are hating on it just to hate on it. We want to listen to the people that are playing the game that might have feedback. Emil says, in addition to Shattered Space, we've also spent a lot of time this year addressing community concerns and making fixes. We'll continue to do so, and we'll be listening to our fans every step of the way. We make these games for all of you. Yep. Starfield is a massive game, and it takes time for us to address things. We move as fast as we can, as safely as we can. Game development always is tricky, but with a game as big as Starfield, every fix could potentially break something else. To close, let me just say I love games. I love Bethesda's games. I've been playing them since the Terminator days. All I or anyone here wants to do is make those games and then make them better. No ego, no arrogance, just a lot of hard work and appreciation of our fans. I want to hear them acknowledge some of the criticism and just be real with it. Like, even when Todd Howard is asked, what do you think of the people that didn't like the base game's exploration? He's like, yeah, there's some people that liked it and some people that liked it less. It's like, no, they did not like it. There was no liking. They did not like it. It wasn't that they liked it less. They did not like it. But it's that attitude of like, anybody who dislikes it just didn't understand it, didn't get it. Oh no, Starfield's different from other games. So if you didn't like it, you just didn't understand what we were trying to do. It's a you problem, right? You just don't appreciate the art, the depth of it. It's like, no, it's possible that you just put out a game that wasn't very good. And the reason people don't like it is not because of some grand conspiracy, or it's not because they didn't play the game or anything. They just didn't like it because it wasn't very good. Maybe that's why the consensus is that it's just, it's mediocre. It's blah. There's some people that loved it, sure, but there's a lot more people that just found it boring and uninteresting, and that's why they didn't go back to it. One of the most telling stats, this should be the most crushing one for Bethesda, that they seemingly are just not willing to acknowledge. On Steam, the peak player counts from the preview, so basically if you bought the deluxe edition, whatever, the early access, you got access to the game a few days early. I think it was like 5 days early. and you could play through it. 245,000 concurrent players were on Steam playing this during that period. So at the very least, 250,000 people bought the deluxe edition, which included early access and the Shattered Space expansion. At least 250,000 people bought that and were playing Starfield at launch. In the last, month, so including the launch period of Shattered Space, they had a peak player count of 21,000 players. They could not hit 10% of the hardcore fans that played the base game and bought the premium version of it. And it's just simply because they tried it and found it wanting. They tried it and were like, eh. And so they didn't even bother going back to the expansion they already owned. It wasn't even worth the headache of clearing out space on your SSD to install it. Harold, yeah, I'm one of those that didn't reinstall. A lot of people were like that. So I have an idea why, because it sucks. I mean, now you would think would be the conclusion. The reviews were bad. People didn't like the base game the more they played it. So when the time came to try the expansion, they found it lacking. But it's just the danger with a lot of these attitudes is that I think a lot of people can just dismiss all of this as haters or something unfair. Hello, my babe. Do you have the baby monitor? No. What is that? Oh, yeah? Oh. You might have just found one. Where would he have gotten it? Sticker cup? Oh.
You think that's bad?
It might be. I'm not sure where to begin with that. Well, what do you want to do?
Wait to see if he eats and if he poops it out.
I guess, yeah.
I don't think they're much bigger than this.
Basically, guys, there was for Easter, we had a family member that thought it'd be fun to put in some of the Easter eggs these little, like, fun, shiny rocks.
Because her kids are older.
Yeah, this person has children that are older that wouldn't eat a rock.
That looks like a jelly bean.
But some of the eggs were filled with jelly beans. Some of them were filled with candy, as most of them are. And so putting rocks in them.
They were mixed. There were jelly beans and rocks.
Most of us were like, you did what? You put what into the container that's filled with candies? Yeah, I think most of you in chat have the same reaction as we did. So we tried to fish out all of those and to separate them all out. But Nikki says she just found one that I guess somehow slipped past everybody's tracking, and Ori had, oh, it's funny, I can see little tooth marks where he chewed on it. He was chewing on one of these, and so she's worried that he might have ate one, which I don't even know what to do. That's pure evil. I mean, it's like almost on the same level as like, just I was gonna say putting rocks in Easter eggs. that's literally what it is. It's like, yeah, what if we put something inedible that looks like something edible in a container filled with things that are edible?
What cracked me up is the uncles were all like, I thought it was rock candy. I almost ate one.
Yeah, even the adults are like, oh, so it's like that rock chocolate, you know, that you can get from the candy store where it looks like a rock, but it's actually chocolate, or it's like a sweet tart or something. Nope, it's a rock. Yeah, the Krampus of Easter. Yeah, it was one of those where it's like, maybe think about this before we do it.
Make sure the baby poops out a rock. I guess.
Dental bill incoming. Yeah.
I didn't have that many teeth yet.
Yeah, it's just gumming it up. Oh man. Yeah, it was one of those moments where we're like, that is a bad idea. We should not do that. Like, we kept waiting for the joke where it's like, I'm just kidding, I wouldn't do that. But then it's like a sack full of them. It's like, oh my God. So then we had to filter through all of them, and I guess she just found one. So babies eat stuff. They do. At one point when Lachlan was a little baby, he had like a little Band-Aid on his finger. And I didn't think much of it. I was like, oh, he's teething really bad. But he like was chewing on his finger so much, he cut open like a wound on his finger. And I was like, that seems horrible. So I put like a little Band-Aid on it. Hindsight, you know, now having 2 kids, knowing that was a bad idea because he's teething and he chewed on his finger, which opened the wound, but he's going to be chewing on the Band-Aid now too. But as a first time dad, I was like, oh, I'm helping by putting a Band-Aid on and protecting it with a little bit of salve or whatever. But naturally, because he's a baby, he just kept sucking on his finger, and then he sucked the Band-Aid off and he swallowed the Band-Aid. Like a day later or whatever it was, you know, the Band-Aid came back out. But that just happens with kids. They'll eat stuff and you're like, okay, well, just trust that the process will work. It sorts itself out, and I'm going to learn my lesson, not put Band-Aids on fingers when they're teething again, you know. Business idea, make edible Band-Aids. So when it's done sucking up your blood, you just pop it in your mouth. It's fine. Yeah. We called like the pediatrician, and they're like, happens all the time. Those things are like, they're kind of designed to just flow through. So just let it happen. So it worked out, but yeah. Yeah. Babies like puppies. Yeah. It's even like our cat Finley, when he was a kitten, he would suckle on blankets, which we thought, oh, that's so cute. He's like suckling on a blanket like it's his mommy, because he's sad and lonely. But it was kind of cute. And so we're like, oh, well, like it's doing no harm. He can just suckle on it. But at one point he ran off, and he wasn't like eating right, and he was being really, really weird. And turns out he had like nibbled off a piece of a blanket, and he had gotten it into his stomach, and it like wedged in a certain way where it wasn't letting stuff pass through his system. So he started like puking and having all sorts of problems. And we took him to the vet, and he had like a surgery, and they took everything out of his stomach and everything. And he ended up being okay, obviously. I mean, you guys see him on stream all the time, but he, you know, cats and animals and kittens and puppies, they just eat stuff, and usually their systems just kind of flow through, and it just pushes everything out, and it's fine. But yeah. Anyway. I think Emil eats Band-Aids too. Come on now. Jesus. Does he still eat blankets? No. He grew out of it pretty quickly after that. I think he was not interested. He was good. Oh, speaking of a kitten, this just popped on my timeline. Look at this. Somebody has their cat on the dashboard of their car. Dude, it's like Jurassic Park. Kitten is unbothered. That's horrifying, dude. That's horrifying. Oh, man. Don't lie, Luke. We all know you were the one eating blankets. Oh, man. I was afraid of that happening to my puppy when I got him. I mean, they're very robust, okay? Like, dogs eat sticks and grass, and I'm sure nibble on rocks accidentally. Yeah, I'm sure there's all sorts of stuff like that, but they typically are pretty tough. Jesus, PC gamer. Influencer sociopathy reaches new heights as local idiot wrecks $200,000 car on live stream while checking phone, then asks bleeding passenger to keep recording. Oh man, that's pretty funny. When local idiot wrecks $200,000 car. Oh, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. I really hope his insurance doesn't cover it. Like, there has to be some tax on stupidity. Like, there just has to be, right? But what are you gonna do? Local idiot crashes car. Okay. Okay, I think we covered that. I can close that out. Close that out. Close that out. Okay. Been a good time. Should we say our prayer again? Should we say our prayer? Where to go? Refresh. Here we go. Our Todd, who art in gaming, hallowed be thy name. Thy new release come, thy will be done on console as it is on PC. I guess it should be Xbox. Give us this day, or no, I guess soon it'll be PlayStation. Give us this day our daily quests and forgive us our exploits as we forgive those who glitch against us, and lead us not into microtransactions, but deliver us from boredom. Amen. Amen, Todd. Amen. Praise be. Praise be. Anything on Star Wars Outlaws? No, they're just patching it. They're just working on stuff. They're doing their bits and bops. What are you gonna do? Not much to be said. Okay. All right. All right. Outlaws was goated. I think it's a lot better than people make it out to be, but it's still not great. Like, it's better than it. I think it's better than people make it out to be, but yeah, I think it still needs a lot of work. I guess real quick we can touch on this. News. It's also happening, guys. Nvidia leaks. They're coming. Rumors, speculation, pricing information about the next round of Nvidia graphics cards. We looked at the leaks previously. It sounded as though the RTX 5090, we were like 2K. I think they're doing it. I think it's happening. And it's a lot, but I don't know how else they're going to do it. I mean, it's an expensive card to make. I think that's what they're going to do. But here's the deal. It looks like that is the literal low end of what they're expecting. They are telling people internally they are pricing out a potential for it to be as much as $2,500. Right now, as you can see, Nvidia just briefed us with new RTX 5000 info. Supposedly, they are indeed planning to launch in 2025 now, and they're also warning us that they're considering the following prices. This is information that was sent to Reliable Leaker Moore's Law is Dead, YouTube channel extraordinaire. And you can see that they're pricing 5090 $2,000 to $2,500. The 5080, $1,200 to $1,500, and the 5070, $600 to $700. Also, one slide compared the 5070 to the 4070 Ti in rasterization, but with slightly better ray tracing. Oh, and I must stress that their plans have changed multiple times. They might change again, blah, blah, blah. As of today, this is what they're telling partners, and we think it's bad, end quote. So 5070 in line with a 4070 Ti. The 5080 at somewhere between $1,200 and $1,500, and the 5090 going almost, all the way up to like $2,500. So partner cards, probably 3,000. You're right. Exactly, Zeke. Because that's important to remember. This is what they're saying their internal metrics are. So if you want like a Zotac, like I have a Zotac 4090. This one probably would be, $3,000, $3,200 for one graphics card. Not to mention that the power draw on these cards is rumored to be like 600 watts. Like it may be more. These cards, the next generation of these cards, are expected to pull more power than a lot of people's entire gaming PC. It's crazy. 5080 might be a scam Nvidia tries to do last time with the 4080 12 gig. That was a mess. Absolutely. It was a real mess, but there's no doubt in my mind these are going to break record prices. It's going to be a lot. You're going to need a new breaker box for the GPU. Unironically, you might not be wrong. Like, they're going to pull so much power with the studio lights, everything else I have going. I have the streaming PC and this PC going. If I were to upgrade, I very well might be in that realm where I'd have to be like very cautious with power draw and power consumption. It's crazy. It's crazy. They say it's rumored to be 600 watts with 21,000 CUDA cores, 32 gigs of GDDR7 memory with a 512-bit bus. If accurate, it would be the first GPU to hit the market with GDDR7 memory, which would make it much faster than the GDDR6X memory found on the 4090. We still don't know when Nvidia is going to show it, but probably at CES is the guess. They say they've been getting more expensive with each generation, so it wouldn't be a huge surprise if the 5090 costs more than the 4090. However, if the top end of the leaked price range is accurate, it could mean nearly a $1,000 jump in price for the next generation enthusiast graphics card. Assuming the rumors are accurate, the price will get you both more and faster memory than what's on the current 4090, which would be a massive boost to performance. Plus, the RTX 5090 would also feature all the architectural improvements made to Blackwell when it launched for data centers earlier this year. A lot of AI enhancements as well. So it's a lot. But as you can see, this is the danger of not having competition. You can even see this in some of these comments. Well, when you have 88% of the GPU market share, you have the ability to name your price. People would probably still pay double the price for NVIDIA GPUs versus an AMD GPU at comparable level. That is a better value other than with ray tracing. AMD only have like maybe 9% of the market share. I think DLSS is a big part of why they can charge so much. Most of the time, it's just the best upscaler. And that is true. DLSS, way better than anything FSR has been able to pull off. I understand they have improvements coming. They're getting better, blah, blah, blah. But right now, DLSS 3.7, whatever, with frame generation and ray reconstruction, everything they're doing is just outrageously impressive. I've been wanting to skip the 40 series and go straight to the 50 series, but man, those prices make it a lot less appealing. Yeah, it's going to be a lot. Oh my, suddenly the price of a PS5 Pro doesn't seem so outrageous. That being said, it's still pretty outrageous. That's funny. Nvidia has completely lost the plot if they launch the 5080 and 5090 at these price points. Completely outrageous. I think it's crazy expensive. To be fair, I don't know how much it is. I don't know what their costs are. I'm sure their R&D is ridiculous, and there's all sorts of craziness that's going to come with it. They're going to launch it with like DLSS 4.0, which will make it so like you can render at 1280p and like render all the way up to 8K with the upscale. Like there's going to be insanity involved here. But I think AMD has a chance to come out, and if they can meet even halfway, if they're like, hey, we've got performance of a 4090, but at $1,000, or $1,200, whatever they end up pricing it, or even just at the current $1,500 price point. Then I think you'll start to see a lot of people that are like, interesting. But this is just what happens when there is no competition. They can get away with whatever they want. Because if you want top of the line performance, you have to pay up. There just isn't another option. If the 5090 comes out for $2,000 to $2,500, that means the stack below it will not go down too much when it comes to last gen. So the 4090 will stay around the $1,500 price point, down from the $2K currently sitting at, and the 5080 will probably be around the $1,200 to $1,500 price point with less RAM, and then the 4090. That means the 5070 class of GPU will be expensive. Don't expect anything less than 800 with no competition from AMD or Intel. Nvidia products on the high end will be Halo products. They can price them how they see fit with no pressure from Team Red and Blue. Also keep in mind that the 5090 will be a class all its own, more so than the 4090. Expect a dramatic performance gap between the 5080 and 5090. I think, and I still think this, there are a lot of people out there, like a lot of professional adults and, you know, these guys that maybe are like 30, 40 years old. They have a lot of expendable income. They only have one or two hobbies. It's like gaming. Maybe they play golf or whatever else. But they have a lot of cash to burn in their hobbies. Again, look at Star Citizen. There's a lot of 30, 40-something-year-old men who will throw a lot of money at their hobbies. And I do think there's a lot of people out there that would pay for a $2,000 graphics card or a $2,500 graphics card if it has performance that scales with it. They're already spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on their PC. What's another $1,000 on top of that to upgrade the graphics card from a $1,500 one to a $2,500 one? I think there's a lot of people out there that will buy it. That's why if people are like, they're delusional if they think people will buy it. I think they will. I don't think it will be the average consumer. I don't think they'll break like sales records, but I do think there are a lot of people who would buy it. And on the professional side of things, there's a lot of people that are trying to do like LLM trainings, and they're trying to do AI stuff. They're trying to do video generation on local graphics cards on local machines instead of relying on servers. And I think that something like the 5090 with all that memory, with the upgraded speed, the architectural improvements, I think that that's also part of the market. I think they're going to try to sell this to people who are training language models and try to appeal to that. So you're going to see a pretty wide swath of people checking this out, I think. Can't wait for the cards burning like the last batch did with the power draw and dodgy connector. Yeah, hopefully they have a better route for that. Because this thing, it has like, you just barely can't see it, but it has the connector that splays off, and then it has like two PCI connectors into the power supply that merge into one connector. It's like pretty sketchy. It's pretty sketchy, honestly. When I plugged everything in, I was like, really? This is what's connecting this $1,500 graphics card? Really? That's what we're doing? But hopefully they have a better solution because it's sketchy. It's real sketch. And especially if it's pulling 600 watts. Dude, that's a freaking space heater. That's ridiculous. How about you give me your 4090 when you get the 5090, Luke? Dude, there are regular comments of people that come on to like TikToks we post. It's a lot of like short form content, TikToks. Honestly, content that targets younger audiences. And it's amazing how many people will comment on that stuff and just be like, hey, can you buy me a PlayStation? Can you give me that I don't know, phone you have? Like in one video I mentioned, I use two phones. I have a personal phone and I have a work phone. Somebody's like, can you just combine them and then give me your old one? I don't have a nice phone. One guy like reached out to us through the business email and sent us his mailing address. I was like, can you just send it here? I was like, bro. It happens like more than you'd realize from a lot of people. I'm like, I wish I could help you, but I just don't have, like, I'm not a billionaire. I don't know what you think I have. Like, I'm not a millionaire. I just don't. Old St. Luke. Yeah, literally. Gotta assume that's a drunk email. Maybe. That would at least be kind of funny. That would be kind of funny. Sorry I did that. It was you. It was you. Can you buy me some chips and dip? I'm sad. Dude, I'm hungry. I'm real hungry. Luke, you're def a millionaire. I guess it depends if you value the YouTube channel. If you count the YouTube channel, then yeah, probably. If you're like, oh, the YouTube channel is worth $5 million or $1 million or whatever, then it's like, yeah, I'm a millionaire. I did it. But in terms of like assets that I could like sell or liquidate for money, no. You're a millionaire. We still love you. It's okay. It's okay. You'll be okay, Luke. No, I wish. One day, like we're on our way. I save a lot of money. I invest a lot of money. But like $1 million is a lot of money. Like $1 million is a lot. They always say like the first 10,000 is insanely difficult to save. And then the first 100,000, ridiculously hard to save. And then after that, the next 100,000, it's a good bit easier. You get to 200,000 pretty quickly. Getting to $1 million, really difficult. But, you know, it comes easier the more feet you get under you. But it's, yeah, $1 million is a lot of money. Takes a long time to get there. Oh, should we watch something stupid? I haven't watched this yet, but it just said some people shouldn't be allowed to have podcasts. This has got to be funny. You ready?
Here's an experiment I want to tell you that absolutely proves that the earth don't spin. So let me tell you 100%. I can say with confidence, I'm not no scientist, no engineer, but I can tell you a simple experiment that you...
Already, we've spent a third of this video, and I'm convinced you don't know what you're talking about.
You can undoubtedly prove the earth don't spin. It involves a helicopter. I made this experiment up myself, okay? So you take a helicopter. You can get up to 15,000 feet. You can sit there and hover. You can hover at 0 miles an hour, literally not go an inch north, south, east, or west. So you hover this helicopter for 4 or 5 hours, 20,000 feet. Did you know that you can come right back down where you took off? Now think about the implications of that. Here's an
He can vote. He's allowed to drive, too. It's the same thing when people are like, you realize you can be in a moving car and you can throw a tennis ball in the air and it will come right back down. It won't fling to the back of the car. Figure that one out. So yeah, it's almost like inertial reference frames exist. That one's pretty bad. That one's pretty bad. That's pretty stupid. That's pretty dumb. Oh, people also say like, Luke, what do they need to do to fix a lot of these technology companies? I'm going to tell you right now, this clip we're about to watch, I've been to a number of studios, like big studios, and this is how a lot of them work. Okay. You might think that this is just meta. A lot of game development studios work the same way. Like a lot of them. So this is going to seem like, no way, this is what they do all day. This is why games takes a lot of them. Not all of them. Some studios are very productive, okay? If you're a developer watching this and you're like, we don't do that, you're one of the good ones. But there will be a lot of people, a lot of devs who are watching this clip with us who are going to be like, don't tell anyone.
This is a day in my life as a product designer at Meta. I work out of their headquarters in Menlo Park, and this campus honestly reminds me of Disneyland. At 9:30, I got breakfast with my team who are here this week for a 3-day design workshop. In the morning, we did different design thinking activities before getting lunch at our barbecue pit, which is our smokehouse on campus.
Design thinking activities. I just want you to remember, like, everything they're describing sounds kind of like a children's daycare. Today we're going to do circle time, and then we're going to do design thinking activities, and then we'll break for lunch and have our snack. Like, then we go for nap time. It sounds just like that.
We couldn't forget about dessert, so we went to our sweet shop to get some ice cream.
Oh, naturally.
In the afternoon, we continued working on our different projects before exploring the campus on bikes. Next, we went to
We're going to go have explore hour where we go to the park and look at birds.
Another building to explore our 9-acre rooftop park. We grabbed some snacks and drinks before sitting outside in our courtyard. We took the shuttle back to Classic Campus and ended the evening with a team dinner.
I knew a guy that worked at Google. He had a job kind of like this. The dude, I met him because he called and was like, hey, I need to buy some real estate. Well, technically I called him, but later he called me. You get the point. But when we were chatting, he's like, I make too much money. It's like, what do you mean? What do you mean? This guy was taking in like hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. And he would joke about it. He's like, yeah, we really don't do anything. He's like, the reason I can call you any hour of the day is because, like, we really don't do anything. Oh, he's a very smart guy, like an actual genius. But he was one of those guys, not Meta, Google had hired him to keep companies like Meta from hiring him. So they didn't have any work for him. They just hired him so that other companies wouldn't. Because he was such a valuable asset, they didn't want the competition having his expertise. So they just paid him tons of money to do nothing, to keep him out. Was it a meal? No. But like that kind of vibe where they do like 3 to 4 hours of work and then the rest of it is just hanging out. That is something that happens at a lot of these companies. Look at this one. This is Salesforce.
Everything I ate at the Salesforce office in SF. Welcome to week 2 of visiting a different...
San Fran, in case you're not familiar. San Francisco is one of the most expensive cities on the planet to live. Okay, and that's where a lot of these headquarters are.
Tech office. Last week I visited Google, and now we're at Salesforce. But they also have very unique and yummy hors d'oeuvres. Obviously, I had to start off with a lavender latte. Their latte art was phenomenal. Then I got...
Yeah, you gotta love it when the business has good latte art.
Got some work done, and now for the taste test. They had this honeycomb mochi waffle, which was delicious, and this crispy fried potato with lox that I accidentally spilled on my laptop. Then we got some Italian ice and visited the game room, and then worked, and then I tried some more snacks. There was another floor that I checked out that had pastries, fruits, and macarons, so obviously I had to try. Comment down which office I should visit next, and follow for more for these tech series.
It's amazing. I remember hearing in college, they're like, yeah, you got to be prepared because you're going to go into the office and you're going to work your butt off and, you know, you're going to be there 5-6 days a week grinding it out and you got to just be prepared. When I worked in freaking real estate, that's what it was. Is we grinded it out and you were expected to work probably 6 days a week, maybe 7. You're expected to like show up first thing in the morning at 8 a.m. and expected to stay until 6, 7, 8 p.m. whenever the boss left. That's what you did. And you were at your desk the whole time or driving to appointments, this or that. In the tech side of things, even in some game development companies, it's like, well, you work from home 3 to 4 days a week, and then you're going to come in, and then we have our snack hour. It's just very, very different. It's very, very relaxed. Great place to work. Maybe not the most productive place to work. There's a reason Elon was able to buy out Twitter and then lay off like 70 to 80% of all the staff. And the website still works and technically has more content on it than ever before. There's a reason, because a lot of those guys probably could be more productive. Probably. Just saying. Must be nice to be that rich. Yeah, it's why like it was so funny when people lost their minds. A lot of people on Twitter were complaining that Elon laid off all those people at Twitter. I was like, no, these guys, like, they are fine. They were making way too much money for doing basically nothing. Like, and I again sold buildings with and for these people, and they were even very open. Like, yeah, we don't do anything. We just kind of sit around all day. So I'm telling you, macaron, not macaroon. That's different. A macaron. Such a boomer take, first L of the year for you. You clearly don't watch a lot of my content. I've had many L's this year. How dare you? How dare you? Somebody makes a single L statement and you think that of me? No. I am the L. How dare you? Oh my goodness. No, but to be clear, Born Hunter, I do not like the new form of X. I don't like browsing X and like seeing random videos of like cartels decapitating people. Not one of my favorites. Not what I love to wake up in the morning and see. So I don't necessarily like the direction they've gone, but it seems like a lot of that has been tied to the moderation tools that they turned off. Twitter had a lot of them back in the day, like a few years back, and they turned most of them off for sake of free speech. But yeah. Anyway. What is this? People are freaking out about CDPR. What's the scandal with CDPR? What are people freaking out about? I don't understand. I talked to a Ubisoft insider about the current state of the industry. Oh, it's one of these guys that's like one of the rage baiters. Oh. I see. I see what's happening. I see. Okay. Seems like we live in times where anyone can record complete nonsense and make a story out of it. CDPR talent leaving. We have the lowest rotation of people in recent years. DEI-driven recruitment. We hire based on merit and talent alone, just as we make games driven by artistic vision alone. Why did we choose Unreal Engine? Because it enables us to work on our games more efficiently and remain cutting edge tech-wise. The Witcher 3's director left? Well, yeah, more than 2 years ago. Now can we stop looking for conspiracy theories and get back to making good, cool stuff? And so they're complaining that they have they won a DEI award. It's Adimian. He makes stuff up. I don't, man. How about if the games are good, we'll buy them. And if the game is bad, we won't. What if that's our metric? Maybe that's what we do. Maybe that's what we do. Let's catch up on stuff. Girl Scout Bob, what a name. Thank you for the follow, guys. Thank you. Let's see. Completed that. No hand holding. Read that one. Being proud of your devs is doing a thing, and it being the right thing to release are very different. Oh, Josh, I see what you mean. Like Emil being proud of BGS devs for putting the thing together versus it being a good product are two separate things. Yeah, I agree. And I think that that's the missed point is people are like, yeah, no, they worked hard on it. Nobody's doubting that. We're just saying that the direction and all that is really, really bad. So yeah, I agree. Folly, Luke, frog jeans for frogs. I agree. Jordan, thank you for that. I have a 3080 Ti and a Ryzen 5950 or 5900X rather. Should I upgrade soon? Also love your content and your studio just got the Rode arm you have. Yeah, it's great. I love it. Works great. You're going to love it. As for 3080 Ti, Ryzen 59, I don't think you need to upgrade, honestly. Based on that, no. Unless you're getting like a brand new 4K 144 hertz monitor or whatever, I don't think you need to upgrade. I think that's more than enough. I think you're good. BOKBG, thank you for that. Super chat. Hi, Luke. Do you think that the Prince of Persia remake will survive the hypothetical Ubisoft studio layoffs? I think so. I think it's far enough along that it will. I think that what you'll see is a lot of, if that happens, I think you'll see a lot of like, probably, unfortunately, because they're some of the nicest people I've ever met, a lot of marketing, a lot of legal staff, a lot of, and they've already technically done some restructuring, quote unquote, and some layoffs in the marketing departments, is my understanding. They used to have teams for like Canada and the US and Brazil and South America, all different teams, and they merged a bunch of them together and laid off a bunch of people like a year ago. So I think that there's going to be stuff like that maybe continues, but I think that you'll see games like Beyond Good and Evil 2 probably finally canned. I think you'll see a lot of other projects that are put on ice. It's just how it is. But I think that that's far enough along that you probably will see it still come out. But good question. Good question. I think if they think it has the potential to make money, it will come out. But if it's been sitting in this like mysterious space, I think we probably won't see it. Mm-hmm. Okay. I remember my brother pre-ordered the Prince of Persia remake 4 years ago. Really? That's crazy. Beyond Good and Evil 2 was Star Wars Outlaws anyways. I mean, I don't know what the hell they're doing. It's been sitting nowhere for ages. Like, what are they doing with it? I don't know what... Like, apparently they still have basically nothing to show. How is that possible after all this time? It's unbelievable. It's crazy. Who's approving the budgets? I don't know. I mean, I know it's the executives, but I don't know why they're approving them and thinking that that's worth the investment. Like that's the problem with Ubisoft at the end of the day, is that they have executives that are greenlighting multi-$100 million budgets, and some of those projects never see the light of day and never make any money. And so it's like, well, what are we doing? We're wasting so much time and so much money on stuff that never sees the light of day. I think the original trailer for Beyond Good and Evil 2 was in like 2008. 16 years, if we still don't have anything to show, maybe it's time to move on. Like, call me crazy. I think that might be the time to try. Do you still have the red flag? Yeah, somewhere. I'm not sure where, but somewhere I do. Is that far back? Yeah, it was like ages ago. Yeah. There's no way Ubisoft can pull out of this pit. Oh yeah, no, I think they absolutely can. Like, will the people that are particularly outraged over like DEI, woke stuff, whatever, will they buy Ubisoft games? No, I don't think they were anyways. I don't think they ever were. That's the thing to remember with like a lot of this stuff. There are some gamers that are legitimately upset about that stuff for sure. But there's a lot of people that are like freaking out about it that were never going to buy Assassin's Creed games, period. Like Ubisoft has its own kind of audience and fan base, and I don't think there's a lot of overlap between like that crowd. There's some, sure, the more casual crowd, but I think there's a lot of people that just, there is no overlap. You're right, I was never going to. Exactly. So I don't think that they have much trouble there. Oh shoot. I broke my vacuum, but I have Geek Squad protection on it from like 3 years ago. And so my vacuum just doesn't turn on. You can't do anything with it. So I have an appointment to take it to Geek Squad to hopefully have them just replace it or give me my money back so I can buy a new one. It's the whole thing. You don't realize how dirty your house gets until you don't have a vacuum. It's really humbling. You're like, oh God, I didn't realize how much I needed it. But I have that appointment scheduled and I have to go take the vacuum to be dropped off. So I have to go do that. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. You guys are amazing. You have a vacuum you need Geek Squad for? Well, it's kind of a little hack I'm just going to tell you guys about. If you get the Geek Squad protection on a vacuum when you buy it, if it breaks and you remember you have the protection, you bring it in. They might give you a little run around like, oh, you have to leave it with us for a day or two. But if they can't fix it under the terms of the Geek Squad protection, you have to, they give you your money back. So whatever money you spend on the vacuum, like $200-$300, whatever it was, they just give you as a store credit, and then you just walk over to the vacuum section and buy a new one. They just replace it. It's great. It's one of the hacks. When I worked there, it was like you did it with everything. Just, yeah, when it breaks down, when it doesn't work quite right, go get your money back. They recycle it. You get your money back. You get a new one. Everybody wins. It's great. Anyway, much love, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you for the $1. Did I just see that? Did that come in? Loading. Boredom. Thank you for the $1. Hi, newcomer here. I'm bored. Don't be bored. Give a prayer to our Lord and Savior, Todd Howard. It'll work great. In case you're interested in game dev, there's a dude I discovered recently called Tokyo Spliff, maybe, on YouTube. Bro's been coding his own engine from scratch. Jesus Christ. I'm going to pull that open in a new tab. That sounds insane. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I will see you guys later. Much love. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye. You like that? Yeah, you did. You dog.